I guess I am. Cool. Sweet. I haven't done it before, but I guess I'm allowed. All right, yeah. So the big announcement today, and that we want to talk about, is that the 2.2.0 is out. And there's a bunch of features here. Please check out the release notes Jenny posted in the CNCF Slack. We're putting together a blog post as well, so there's going to be like a nice blog post to kind of highlight all the stuff in it. But just at a high level, we split the install UX for Agent Gateway. And so there's a new Agent Gateway registry, there's new Agent Gateway APIs, and it makes the UX a lot. We've talked about this before on the call and our plans to do it, but it makes the UX a lot clearer. When installing either product, you only get the APIs that you're for the data plane you're using, and just a lot more straightforward. But in addition to that, tons of features on the Agent Gateway side, and then also on the Envoy side, we've been closing the gap between kgateway and the Nginx ingress controller with Nginx ingress controller getting end of life. We have interest in people looking to migrate to kgateway from Nginx. So we did a lot of work on that front. There's a huge epic that's referenced that we'll be referencing in the blog of all the work that we closed out to kind of close those feature gaps between Nginx and kgateway. As well as this is the first release in open source that we have ARM support. So that's excellent on the Envoy and Agent Gateway side, right, Nina? Agent Gateway 2?
Yes.
Or Lawrence. Yeah, right, Lawrence. Cool. But yeah, so this is the first release that has ARM support. I know that we had a number of people asking for that. So lots of contributors here, 40 plus, right? And like I said, the release blog will be coming out. But yeah, a lot of this was a packed release in my opinion. So yeah.
Josh, I'll maybe add a couple of things. One of the things so Josh mentioned, closing the various feature gaps. There is an epic that some of you may have been participating in. We got some valid feedback, and this will be in the release blog, but we got some valid feedback, that there are a handful of things that are, considered table stakes for an API gateway that were not in kgateway. So there's actually quite a few of like security features that have been added and so on. So I would highly encourage you to try them out if you've been looking for some of those, because they are all, at least that entire epic. Actually, I'll just throw the link in the chat. I have it up 1 second. A lot of features have been requested by members of the community. So if you haven't had a chance to try them out, please do. And then on the ARM, just real quick on touching on the ARM, the issue for that is 5.5 years old. So we've had, several people that have been looking for that. So it's also worth reevaluating. It's been there's been a ton of technical challenges to get to this point, but now we're planning on so for x86, we still use the previous legacy project, Envoy Glue's custom Envoy build. This is the last release that will have that. So we have a guide that talks about like kind of the caveats with that. But for ARM, we're using vanilla upstream Envoy with dynamic module support to enable the transformation feature set in kgateway. And then going forward, right, we will deprecate out Envoy Glue, or Envoy Glue is actively deprecated, and then the following release we'll move it entirely. So starting in 2.3, kgateway, we will have we'll be running on the full, both x86 and ARM, the complete vanilla Envoy upstream image. So we're back to being on par with the base Envoy image, so we don't have to maintain a custom pipeline and so on. So it will be much easier for us to adopt new Envoy features and so on. But yeah, just wanted to highlight that Andy did some great work to get us to this point. Like I said, that issue, and actually, I'm going to link that too, just for fun. If you want to go down memory lane of this project when it was still Glue, this is a good issue to take a look at. Yeah, so we're finally there. It only took us 5.5 years.
It was also like 20 PRs to write the REST formation changes.
Oh yeah, and that wasn't even the full list. Like apparently, and I know this now, there's a limit that you can attach PRs to an issue as far as like in the development tab. So I had to just write a summary of them. But yeah, I sent the link. So yeah, if you want to see an issue from August 7th of 2020, that's finally solved. There you go.
Cool. Well, yeah, so keep an eye out for our blog coming out, and definitely check out the release. Hit us up on the kgateway Slack if you have any questions or issues. Jenny, I think you wanted to discuss the next section.
Yeah, so this is some updates to the org membership and LFX guidelines. Nina had put up a PR for this, but she's not here, so I'm just gonna kind of read it on her behalf. So we've noticed like kind of a lot of it seems to happen around LFX mentorship application time. A lot of new contributors try to open a ton of PRs at once, and it kind of like, first of all, it takes maintainers a lot of time to review tons of PRs, and it also might take away from other people who would also like to contribute. So we've kind of we have some proposed changes to limit 3 currently open PRs at a time for like non-org members. And then we also have some in the PR that's linked below. There's some guidelines about specifically about LFX applicants. It's much more important to have like one really high quality PR than to open a ton of PRs at once. So yeah, if you guys could take a read through the PR, feel free to add any comments you have. It's linked right there below.
Cool, thanks, Jenny. And then Lawrence, you wanted to discuss the split further?
Yeah, so one of the things that we've been trying to solve on the maintainer side is how we handle the agent gateway and Envoy-based data plane code. So like Josh mentioned, right, in this 2.2 release, we have the full split of the Helm chart, the APIs, even the docs and so on for agent gateway versus Envoy when using the current kgateway controller. And it's been challenging to get to this point. A lot of the reason we did all this work is because trying to share an API and a chart and even the docs to like for 2 things that are somewhat not that closely related. So like, at the high level, right, they're both data planes, right? But the agent gateway side of the house is very focused on the agentic workflows. And if you're in that space, right, you know that things are moving extremely fast. So we need to be able to quickly iterate on the APIs, quickly iterate on the code, get releases out as quick as possible. And that doesn't necessarily match up with what we're trying to do with Envoy, where it's a much more stable project. We want kind of like rock solid resiliency and so on. So kind of taking it to the logical conclusion, what we want to do is split out the controller from within the kgateway repo to its own repo that lives closer to the agent gateway proxy. And so since we've already split everything out, this is really more of a matter of moving the code rather than, like it doesn't functionally change a lot of things. The code and the functional splits have already been done in this 2.2 release. And now that that's been done, there's very little overlap in the actual underlying controllers. They just are located in the same location, in the same repo. And so what we want to do is split that out into the agent gateway repo. And I'll talk a little bit more about like the plan for that. But the other reason for this is I mentioned, right, we want to move fast on agent gateway. We want to be able to, quote unquote, move fast and break things. Part of the challenge is that right now, since they're co-located and since it's effectively the same controller, even though there's very little overlap in the 2 kind of lines of behavior, we are limited to the amount of releases we can do because the releases are shared, right? So if you have like a GitHub release, that's a singular release. For example, this 2.2 release, we delayed it a bit to make sure we got in this multi-arch support for Envoy, which we wanted to do so that we can, do all the nice stuff that we talked about, deprecating Envoy glue, getting everything to upstream Envoy, and so on. So we held the release even though Agent Gateway was ready to go for its 2.2 release, several weeks ago. And so in order to solve that, like we would have to do a pretty complex mechanism of like doing release management where we have different tags that mean different things out of the same repo. Josh has did a really great write-up that kind of summarized all of the work that would have to be done to make that happen. And I'll send this in the chat as well. So, heavy CI work to make it possible to have independent releases. And then we're still, even if we did this, we still would be limited by what like our GitHub releases look like. So we think that this is probably the right move. Like I said, this is kind of like the logical conclusion of splitting out everything. So the plan right now is to take the Agent Gateway controller and move it alongside the Agent Gateway proxy into what you could call a mono repo. I don't want to go into too much there, but it also significantly fixes some of the development workflow, because if you're familiar with Agent Gateway side, the APIs for Agent Gateway, the proxy, are protobuf based. It's a protobuf based API that lives in the Agent Gateway proxy repo. In order to use that in kgateway, what we had to do is, run a release in the proxy of Agent Gateway, regenerate the Go types based on those protobufs, bump kgateway to pull that in, and only then are we able to iterate in the control plane and bring in the new features and so on. With the mono repo approach, that gets significantly simplified. The version of the proxy correlates to the version of the controller, and it makes things a lot easier and therefore a lot quicker. And so we can iterate much faster. It also means that we've had some feedback where it's like very confusing, where like, what does kgateway mean? Is kgateway Envoy? Is kgateway Agent Gateway? Are they both? So we kind of had like terminology where it's like, okay, kgateway for Envoy, kgateway for Agent Gateway. By splitting it, it kind of makes things a lot simpler, where kgateway can be solely focused on Envoy, and Agent Gateway obviously can be solely focused on Agent Gateway. So there are a lot of reasons to go with this. Obviously, there are some downsides, but from a user impact, there shouldn't be much, if any, as far as like using the software. Again, the Helm charts are already split. If you've installed it, right, you've seen that it uses like what we call the vanity domain, where it's like cr.agentgateway.dev. So you're installing a Helm chart from this vanity registry, which behind the scenes will change to a different location, but as a user, you will not get impacted by it. The biggest impact will be if you are a contributor, right? You can open issues, open pull requests, and so on in the new repo versus the existing kgateway repo. But functionally, things should stay mostly the same. Also, for people that are like solely interested in Envoy as an ingress, or agentic workflows with Agent Gateway as an egress, or whatever, you have a logical split of what component you're using, and there's nothing preventing you from running them alongside in the same cluster, even in the same namespace, if you have a reason to do that. And it also makes it easier for people that are downstream consumers of Agent Gateway, right? If you were to try and build something today with Agent Gateway, you would get all of kgateway stuff and vice versa. So we feel like the split is just the logical thing to do. John Howard, who's not on the call, I don't think.
No, I'm here.
Oh, John. Okay, yeah. So John has a PR that he's working on to kind of do this. John, I don't know, maybe you want to give like a couple sentence explanation of your plan there.
Yeah, basically the idea that like the root goal is to get all of the files and history for Agent Gateway into another repo. And in practice, what that ends up looking like is we did some Git shenanigans where we basically took all of the commits before Agent Gateway existed, which is like 6,000 commits. So we didn't want like, all 6,000 commits that are just totally unrelated to Agent Gateway in the Agent Gateway repo. So we squashed those. And then we took only the commits related to Agent Gateway. I found that out by first, I went in the kgateway repo and just on a branch, just deleted all the Envoy stuff, basically. And so we took only the related commits. Then we moved those into a subdirectory. You can do like a git move, so it keeps the history. And then we merge that into the agent gateway repo. And so the end result basically is that we get about 500 additional commits in the agent gateway repo. And if you go like on a file, you can see all the history of it, just like you would expect. So the plan, yeah, would be to push that up. I will say like the transition phase, obviously with anything like this is awkward. It's forked off of like when I started working on it, which I think was yesterday morning. Since then, a few PRs to Agent Gateway have actually merged in kgateway. I've already been looking and cherry picking them, but we'll just need to be cognizant of in-flight ones that are like still open or things that get merged, and just make sure they don't end up getting merged only somewhere that will be to be removed. If you're a contributing one and are like, I contributed once, I don't want to contribute it twice, just let me know. I don't mind cherry picking them. It's pretty quick process. But we do want to make sure we don't have something slip through the cracks.
And so we actually have a link to that PR in the notes here. It's that moving to agentgateway.dev bullet point. So if folks are interested, feel free to take a look at that. I think like John said, like because of the the fact that the migration is awkward, right? We want to do this sooner than later. So we don't want to hold too much. That way it's it significantly makes everyone's lives easier that's contributing, so that you don't have to like be in this limbo state for too long. So we want to move quick here, but yeah, take a look at that PR, give some feedback if you have any. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's a lot there. It might be worth pausing to see if there are any questions or anything.
I had a question about one of the things that we generate in the docs is the control plane metric names, and all of those are prefixed with kgateway. Would this migration to agent gateway affect the names, or like would we maybe like eventually rename those but in something separate because we're just trying to do like a clean move?
That is a great question. So I had noticed the same for like environment variables as well. They're all prefixed with AGW. In general, I think we should do kind of minimal changes and merge it and then change them some more before a release, right? I haven't been the best at that because it's very tempting to just go and fix things all right away. But I think it will make things a bit more sane and easy to review and whatnot. I think in terms of the names, I do think it's probably best to rename them now, because the pain is only going to get, the longer we wait, it only gets harder and harder to make changes like that. So overall, yeah, I think we should look at those types of things and change them where we can. For some of them, I don't think it really works well for metrics, but like there's one that's like the MCP protocol, like annotation. For that, I would say we can just easily support both for a couple versions or whatever. But for metrics, you don't really want to duplicate them for performance reasons. So for those, we probably just do a hard cut over, I think is going to be the best.
Yeah, makes sense.
That also brings up in my mind, Art, thanks for bringing that up, that we also have like a dashboard, right? So we probably will want to bring that over. Right now it's in a separate repo in kgateway. We have kgateway dev / dashboards, I think it's called. So we'll probably want to have like, update that obviously after we switch the metric names, but that should be like acceptance criteria for us, right? It's like, let's make sure that the dashboard works, and that can also prove that our metric naming is done correctly.
Yeah, one thing, I don't know if maybe Lawrence mentioned this and I missed it, but we're doing a mono repo with the Agent Gateway. So all of this code is moving into the current Agent Gateway Rust. Well, it's not just Rust actually. Today it already has Rust in the UI, which is in JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever. So yeah, just FYI. Right now the website is still split out. We'll keep it split up for now. I don't know if we'll move it eventually. We'll see. If we do, if you're like cringing right now, we'll do it. We'll only do it if it won't make your life suck. So we don't have to do that.
Do you mean like move the website repo into the same, like the Agent Gateway code?
Yeah, I don't think we need to. It's just,
okay.
We have everything but the docs there. So in theory, we could also put the docs there. There's some benefits. I'm sure there's some downsides, and it's definitely not part of this effort, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, if you want me to look into that, we can certainly do that. But
So one thing that worth calling out, we have the Slack channel, obviously, right, in CNCF for kgateway. Agent Gateway has its own Discord channel. They don't have a Slack channel right now. I'm probably going to do some digging to see if we can get a Slack channel as well for folks that don't want to use Discord. But we also have GitHub issues. John, do you know if discussions is enabled? GitHub discussions are enabled on the Agent Gateway repo. If not, that might be something we should look at. Just so that
we've had discussions, and discussions in Discord are kind of the main ones.
Okay.
Or issues, obviously.
And then it's not like going to be, a super hard cutover from like community perspective, right? Like a very large majority of the people in this community are also part of the other community. So, if folks are asking questions in Slack, we can still look at them, address them, and, hopefully point you in a place that might be more appropriate in the future. But, it's not going to be like, delete your message about Agent Gateway. We have a lot of flexibility there.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so congratulations on getting the release out. Really, really exciting. So I want to ask, because I'm looking at like Istio. I think John and I come from Istio community. Like we spend a lot of time focused on whether a feature is beta or GA, putting them in the right category. What are the thoughts about kgateway 2.2 release along with the Agent Gateway support? How are we messaging that? I know we're trying to produce the release blog. Have we given thoughts on that?
That is a great question. I think to this point, so I don't know, maybe others have a better answer. I don't think that we have like solidified a lot of that yet, just because kgateway itself is still fairly new. I think what we have done though is we called Agent Gateway Alpha, obviously in the CRD, but also just in general. So like we've been a little more lenient with, some like, we just broke everything out in 2.2, right? The APIs just changed entirely. So I think that is still accurate. And then, with the split, now we can start kind of thinking about when we can make some of the Agent Gateway APIs mature in the new location. I do think though that it's worth a conversation on the kgateway APIs. Now that we have a significant amount of feature gaps covered, we also have features that have been in place. The APIs have been in place since the 2.0 of kgateway, and before that, right, they have legacy in the Glue Edge 1.x project. So some of those APIs, I think we can start considering, far more mature and with some strong stability guarantees. The other thing is I don't think we've broken a kgateway API since we've been 2.0 either, really. So maybe we have, maybe I missed something, but I basically I'm saying I think with kgateway especially, we should start looking at putting, some maturity guarantees on APIs and start calling them stable. Whereas Agent Gateway, I think, is far more in flux. I would be curious what John thinks though on that one.
Yes, I agree with the Agent Gateway side. On the kgateway side, I have a lot of opinions on API versioning. When we get to that, if you care to hear my opinions, you don't have to follow them because I am the Agent Gateway guy now, and we're in a split repo, so it's no longer my concern. But if you're interested, I can share. Sorry,
yeah, no, finish your thoughts first. Sorry, I thought you were done.
No, I was just going to move on to the Agent Gateway versioning.
Okay, so maybe I'll just say one thing before you move on to the versioning. So given kgateway has been out for a long time, I almost want to say the majority of kgateway is GA, especially for the standard API, which we implement straight out of Kubernetes, right? And then for the extension, I think it would be good to provide some guidance on what is beta and what is alpha. Given we are having people running kgateway in production, I almost want to, if we can, to say the base of kgateway is GA, right? But from the controller, the base, like HTTP route, the gateway API, the core of what kgateway is, I think if we can, I would hope we could declare GA, and same for agent gateway too, right? The ones that's like the fundamental building block for agent gateway, but maybe not for the new resources we added and we're still iterating on.
Just a quick thing on that. I think I would be very confident in calling the significant majority of the kgateway, whether it's API or just controller, GA at this point. Like we have had people in production for quite some time. Yeah, I agree with Tim. Like I think it's probably worth some due diligence, but I would be very confident in calling the majority of kgateway GA.
That's great to hear. Thanks.
Real quick before we, or are you good on that, Lynn? Or do you want to?
Yeah, I think it would be good. It would be great if we can provide some guideline, but for now, overall, in general, kgateway is GA. I think it's a good statement for marketing purpose too, and for everybody to hear.
Yeah, definitely agreed. I think we should take an action item for that for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
One thing Jeff called out in the chat is pretty good, pretty good call out on the cherry picking with the signed commits. I think so, John. I don't know if you ran into any of that for the commits that you moved. Since it was a move, I think that that's not going to be a problem. It would be a problem if you cherry picked individual commits post move, maybe.
Probably.
Yeah, so we may want to, with the commits that are not part of the move, I think we should double check the commits that were moved with their signatures, if there were any. We should double check that. But it might be good for us to like find the open PRs that touched Agent Gateway and ask them to reopen, even if it's not great, if they have signed commits, right? I don't know. I think Jeff, I think it's a great call. I think we should do some digging on it.
Yeah, last thing I just wanted to call out on the versioning, we had kind of a dilemma because we want to have one version with the new controller and the proxy, but the proxy is 0.12 right now, and the controller was 2.2 because we copied the Envoy based one. So we thought about doing 2.3 or 3 v3, but those felt like kind of awkward for the proxy to go from v0 to v2 or v3. And so what we're tentatively going to do is release it as v1.0 and just pretend that the v2s didn't exist, and then kind of go on from history there. It might be a little weird to have, first, depending on which version you're looking at, it to go backwards in time, but I think the weirdness is kind of a one-off thing that will impact the early adopters right now, and then long-term we'll have the version we want. So.
And that versioning is part of like the migration. So like we'll release it as a V1. Like whenever.
Yeah, the migration, like from a user standpoint, the only thing that will change is when they do Helm upgrade now, they'll just change, instead of Helm upgrading to v2.3, they'll now change to v1.0, which they'll probably scratch their head and be like, why are we downgrading? But they'll read the doc and say, no, it's an upgrade. And then they'll be good. Like we already did all the hard parts of like renaming things and splitting out the control. Like most of the hard work was already done, and this is now, for the most part, internal change. If we change some of the environment variables, other things like you mentioned, there'll be a couple more changes, but it's not like, this isn't a massive user-facing change. It's more of a major developmental change.
Yeah. We'll just need to update the docs right now. So cool.
If I'm understanding that correctly, you're going to break people who use Cargo Warehouse and subscribe to releases. So, and probably other, GitOps tools.
Do you think it will break them functionally or break them by confusion?
Functionally. So a cargo warehouse user typically would subscribe to Agent Gateway's Helm releases so that they can have different stages. They run tests on it and then they put it in staging and then they manually promote it to production. But that all depends on your releases being monotonically increasing.
So, okay, I think we'll have to do some digging there. I'm not familiar with how like how cargo works under the covers, but that is a very good
You might
call.
need to think more about it, like either a different registry or
Yeah, for what it's worth, the version decision, like everything else is happening like soon because we don't want to be in a temporary state forever, but the versioning decision doesn't happen until we decide to release it, obviously, so that we have more time on.
I missed some of that, Josh. Should I just ping you about the versioning thing, or is there another thread about this? I'm gonna take a call.
no. It's just Chandler brought up that some DevOps automation also like kind of depends on that.
No, I get
if it-
that. I meant in terms of like the versioning we're doing for like Agent Gateway going forward.
Correct. Like it sounds like there may be a problem for how do you do a cargo flow where the next version from 2.2, if you're an Agent Gateway user of the cr.agentgateway.dev chart, is 1.0 from 2.2.
Oh, sorry. I meant like holistically for that vanity URL. I could see that being a problem. All right, I'll just take us offline.
Yeah.
Lynn, you had a question in the chat.
Yeah, I'm talking to a reporter this week. I just want to know, do we know when we are going to upstream that change? Because right now it's pretty inconvenient. People have to go to our repo to grab that tool, which feels like a side thing.
Danny and Omar, I think you guys were working on that. Question that upstream,
Yeah,
right?
I have a PR up. It's like almost merged. It's just very slow to get stuff merged in that repo. Yeah, it doesn't implement all the features though, just one of them. And then we have to like add the rest of them.
I see. Do we have any maintainer on that project at the Ingress to Gateway? No.
No, but I'm going to be added as an owner if all goes well.
Okay, cool.
And we could probably get Dadian added as well.
Yeah, and when we have an issue in our downstream fork that's tracking the progress to Omar's point to his PR, I think you pushed that what 2.5 to 3 weeks ago. So things are moving pretty slow. There's just not enough maintainers to support that project. But as soon as we get that PR in, then that really lays the foundation for adding all the features, and it'll just come down to how quickly upstream can merge each feature pull request. We didn't want to go ahead and have a single pull request of 100,000 lines of code adding each and every downstream feature.
Okay, can you send me the PR, Omar? I want to see if there's anybody I can ping, because I feel like people like Ricardo and other people, they bug us when they need stuff. I just want to make sure we have this merge before KubeCon. Thank you.
Sure, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we're 7 minutes over. Any other topics that we need to address? Otherwise, I think we need to punt them to next week so we can stay on schedule.
I had a question, just as like a potential kgateway user. This is on the subject of Nginx ingress feature parity. one of the features that I use is have like cider based basically ACLs, preventing or like whitelisting specific ciders to be able to access things via kgateway specifically, not agent gateway. I don't know if this is the right forum to ask this question per se, but this is something that John, I think you had worked on for agent gateway, but I was wondering if like where I could see kind of updates on, or like, you know, thumbs up an issue for some of these like ingress feature parity issues.
Yeah, so it sounds like you're talking about like the deny list or the whitelist annotation. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's not supported in either of the emitters, the kgateway or the agent gateway emitter. So if we're talking about using the tool to help with that migration. But if you could help us out, create an issue on our downstream fork, or if you can create it upstream and tag either Lauren or I, we'll go ahead and prioritize that if that's kind of a blocker for you to migrate from an Ingress Nginx to either kgateway or agent gateway.
Yeah, I think it would be ideal. I wouldn't call it like a hard blocker because I can do it at another layer, but it would be nice to be able to configure it here.
So the reason that that's also a little tricky is because of the discussion like Lawrence actually just linked, which is the kgateway right now in the RBAC filter supports it supports some IP filtering definitely, but it's not CIDR based. So it's like there's different things you can do with it, but it's not CIDR based. We've had this request from other places as well. So we need to explore like how we would add a native CIDR based one, and we might do that in the future. But just an FYI, that's why it's a challenge to actually do that direct conversion. But it doesn't mean, it depends on your use case. So it doesn't mean that you can't use that RBAC filter to satisfy your needs. So I definitely take a look at that before. But yeah, that's why it might be tricky to just like do the ingress to gateway conversion directly.
Gotcha.
Hey Josh, though, do we have issues from the kgateway and or agent gateway side of supporting this feature?
We might. I'll go look at that actually.
So just a couple of things. John, I saw you had your hand up. I don't know if you want to jump in here. There's other things that we can do here. Part of the reason why, so there is a native way to do this in Envoy, but the RBAC filter that we have, the RBAC that we have exposed today, so we expose the HTTP RBAC filter in Envoy, which allows you to do things like, you know, IP address denying or whatever, but we only have exposed this cell way of doing that. So like you could write a cell expression that says like, you know, the incoming address, you know, if it's this IP, deny it. But the cell library in Envoy doesn't have like a CIDR expression function. There is a way to do it without cell. So there's an opportunity for us to expose the non-cell way of doing it, if I remember correctly. But to echo Josh's comments, this has been asked for several times. I think it's something that we're going to have to address. And we have several options here. I linked to that discussion where someone else asked the same thing, and I was trying to, but couldn't find on Slack. Someone asked the same thing as well. I don't know if we have a concrete issue, but Josh, we should make sure that we have one. And you know, we can. I think with the amount of people that are asking for it, especially as people are trying to migrate away from Ingress Nginx, it seems like something that we should, you know, explore all the options and get something in place.
Yeah, I agree.
And oh yeah, go ahead, John.
How dare you recommend using cell? No, I do think the cell option is the best approach, though. But yeah, it's unfortunately annoying.
Yeah.
So I was going to mention with the dynamic module, I know Envoy has been adding a lot more stuff into the dynamic module as well. That's if there's something that Envoy cannot do natively. Now it's a lot easier to do a custom filter using the dynamic module, similar to the transformation module as well. So I think that opens up the door for
Could be a good option,
quickly
yeah.
implementing a feature without having to compile the whole Envoy.
I was going to say that exact same thing. I think that, this is a great use case. This could be a great use case for doing just a quick dynamic module for IP ACLs. The other thing, just Jeff, I was going to ask real quick, you're using Envoy or Agent Gateway?
I'm hoping to use kgateway/Envoy.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just kind of migrating some very pretty normal web services. So
yeah, makes sense.
Hey, Jeff, I want to make sure you know that we have a Slack at CNCF, kgateway. If you have detailed questions, we'd love to help you there. I don't think I saw you. Actually, I didn't know you are a user initially. I had to pin John too. I thought you might be a maintainer on the kgateway project. So we would love to see you ask your questions there if you have any other questions about moving from Nginx Ingress to kgateway.
cool. Yeah, I posted in the Slack quite a while ago, but yeah, I can take it offline. We're there.
I think we should have. So I'm trying to open up that link. I got to log into the Slack to get it up. But we probably should have, and it was probably me. We should have created an issue for it way back then. So all that to say, this is coming up, constantly. We got it.
I'm writing an issue right now. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Josh.
All right, well, let's go ahead and wrap things up. And if there's any other topics that you need to discuss, let's move that over to you. Thanks everyone for joining, and we will see you in a couple weeks.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Thank you.